Hello and welcome to Quarterlight, your car brochure channel, and in today's episode we're going to be looking at the Vauxhall Vivas for 66. Hello and welcome back, and if you're new to Quarterlight, we're a car brochure channel here on YouTube looking at car brochures from around the world for the 60s, 70s, 80s and 90s and sometimes beyond that scope as well. So if you're interested in cars, car brochures, looking at cars gone by and lots of memories, then please do consider subscribing. It is all completely free. Anyway, back to today's episode. We've been looking at Vauxhalls on a Wednesday for some time now, and our last range brochure has come to an end, and I still wanted to look at Vauxhalls, so indeed I'm extending that by now looking at a much older Vauxhall, this time the Vauxhall Vivas for 66. So let's have a look at that brochure now. Okay, so this is today's brochure, only a small brochure, it's not very big at all. I've got a ruler next to it. What is it? Sort of like 11.5 centimetres high, so only quite a small brochure that kind of like folds out, and quite common for brochures in the 60s to open slightly different to what we think of later brochures. So anyway, he's telling us here 5 Vauxhall Vivas for 66. So these are the Vivas for the 66 model year, although the brochure itself is actually dated October 1965. These would have been the Vauxhall Vivas or Viva HA. They ran from 63 to 66, so this is really the end of line of the HA in saloon form. I mean, if you think about the vans, which were badged Bedford HAs, they ran up to the 80s in about 83, which was crazy to say this is, in the 60s. Although I think when these came out, they were quite advanced. I think they moved the game on, and quite a clever little car, but certainly weird that they're using this sort of design still in the 80s. I seem to remember they were actually, was it the post office who used to use the Vivas? But like I say, quite an elderly design in the 80s for sure. So this just ran till 66. So this, like I say, the end of line for the HAs. Strange HA, isn't it, when they call it like the Bedford HA? I always thought that was a silly name, and I thought it was quite amusing as a kid. But nevertheless, that's what they are. And the next model that came along, the HBs, that came after 66, I'm getting from September 66. That to me reminds me more of what I think of as a Viva. These I don't really remember too well, to be honest with you. I was born in the 70s. I can't really remember seeing too many of these around even in the 70s, to be honest with you. I think rust and rot was a bit of a issue for them, but I certainly remember the van version, the Bedford HA. There were still lots of them around, because like I said, they were still selling them in, I think, around about 83, which is crazy. Anyway, I'm starting to waffle a bit. I'm trying to stop myself from doing that. Unusual, this brochure, because somebody's had it before me, and I'll just show you that now. Signed and dated it. I can't really understand why it's been signed and dated. The date there isn't the date of the brochure, like I said, it was printed in October 65, and this is for model year 66, but someone's dated the 3rd of December 65. Possibly they had one of these in December 65, possibly did they get a brand new Viva in 65? Dated it. My Viva is the 3rd of December 65. I don't think the dealership would have wrote that on there, but it's unusual that someone would put that on there. And they've gone one step further, actually. They put a little bit of a sticker on the bottom with the full address. I'm not going to put the full address on there, but unusually they put a sticker on there as well. Maybe they had this car, they was very proud of the car, and this was kept in the glove box. I don't know. Maybe it was just quite simply a bit of a brochure collector for these like I am, but I mean, I certainly wouldn't start signing my brochures and putting stickers on there. That seems an unusual thing to do, but nevertheless, if you think of a reason why somebody would have done that, please jot in the comments, because I'm struggling a little bit. But it would be nice to think that this person, Jeffrey, had a Viva, and it was a 3rd of December 65 build date or something on there, wouldn't it? That would be a nice thing to see on there. I don't mind it. I mean, I don't mind seeing things like that on brochures. It seems like a period thing, doesn't it? And I like history. I like the history of the cars. For me, it's all about the memories, so I don't mind seeing that on there. Looking at the car itself, and I'm trying not to show that address really. Looking at the car itself, you can see this 2-door example. I always thought with these, trunk or boot area, it's quite big, isn't it, for the size of car really, so I'm sure it was quite a handy little car. And I do like these, but like I say, I think rust was certainly an issue for them, so I don't know if they lasted particularly well. Like I say, when was the last time you saw a Vauxhall Viva, or a 66 Vauxhall Viva, for example? Those going to shows, maybe you've seen one or two, but certainly I don't think there would be any daily drivers around today, put it that way. Anyway, let's open the brochure up, learn a bit more about this model year, and see what we can see. Okay, so like I said, 60s brochures often open unusually. This is no different. If I can manage to do this one-handed, I think I have to turn it upside down and fold it down and kind of like fold it across and then fold it across again. There you go. So we can get like a bit of a look. And they're almost like a poster design, if you know what I mean. But we'll start in this top corner and we'll kind of like go through here and see if we can learn a bit about these 66 model year Vivas. So the first part has got a lovely interior picture, and we might come back to that in a moment. I think we'll start here where it's telling us, have you tried this lively, likeable 1 litre Vauxhall? So it starts by saying it's big in every significant dimension. Big enough for 4 big people and all their holiday luggage. Yet it's so neatly compact when you come to park or garage it. 5 minutes at the wheel and you'll see why it's so conspicuously successful. Big-hearted, unfussy, this lively Vauxhall is flexible with smooth top gear power and so very easy to drive. With the lightest controls, tenacious road holding, snap action gears and big beefy brakes. We move further down, it says Vauxhall Viva and a little bit of an image of a engine and gearbox by the looks of it, and tells us 50 bhp for the regular Vivas, short stroke with big bore for low piston speeds with reduced friction and wear, downdraft induction, big valves and clean swept exhaust for easy breathing, massive cylinder head for noise absorption, smoothly machined wedge-shaped combustion chambers for steady burning without pinking. This is the power unit that provides the Viva with more brake horsepower per pound of vehicle weight than comparable cars. So yeah, we may as well move back to this image again. So yeah, the interior, an attractive looking interior. Very Vauxhall thing, even in sort of late 70s, early 80s, isn't it, to do this all same sort of colour interior, this time in blue. I can only approve. I think we should bring back nice coloured interiors to cars today. Much nicer. And then we went through a period in the 70s when most cars were just going drab black, weren't they? It went too far. And then sort of greys in the 80s. But I think it's time for a bit of colour to come back again. So like I said, this is going to be your deluxe version of the Viva. We've also got a nice little interior shot here, even down to the little teddy bear. So yeah, I think they were pretty good luggage space, really, considering the size of the car overall. And then if we just move down, it gives us another interior shot. this time of the rear seats. Again, the deluxe version. To one side it says Viva, your kind of car. Viva families are never too big for their boots. The Viva takes it all with room to spare. The big, easy to get at, sensibly square boot copes easily with the whole family's holiday gear. 18 cubic feet, and that's a lot of luggage. And it goes on to say you don't need a shoehorn to park. For lightness and controls and driving ease, the Viva stands alone. Close parking, tight packed traffic, snaky lanes and unfriendly road surfaces, the Viva deals with them all with contemptuous ease. All synchro gearbox and picture window vision banish fatigue and put fun into the cut and thrust of modern motoring. It then goes on to tell us that sure-footed as a mountain goat, with liveliness and agility to match. Powerful brakes cope easily with every situation and gives you confidence to use the Viva's performance to the full. Servo-assisted brakes from discs are standard on both 90 models and available with optional extra at a very reasonable price on the other Vivas. So again, it seems quite advanced for the time. All synchro gearboxes, servo assisted brakes from disc brakes. You know, it certainly gives you a lot for the time anyway. And if we move still further to the right, we get an image of this model. This time this is the SL. And now the SL, meaning super luxury, came later actually. It was June 65 before this came along. And you can notice these with this sort of like black painted stripe going, which kind of like, considering it's talking about luxury, actually makes them more look like sort of like a sporty look rather than a luxury look. But I can only approve. It certainly looks very interesting, and we'll have more images of the SL. Things like sort of like spotlights I can get on the front of it. Anyway, let's move down because it tells us, and now Viva 90 with 60 bhp. The regular Viva doesn't loiter, but wait till you see what the 90 can do. 0 to 60, 18.8 seconds. And a speed you don't really see very often, a 20 to 40 unusually in top in 11.2 seconds. So that's hard to comprehend. We're more used to that 0 to 60, although strangely these older brochures and even the 70s, they were quite often talking about 0 to 50 to make it seem a little bit better. Unusual to see a 0 to 60, but I mean 18.8 seconds seems ridiculously slow, doesn't it, by today's standard. Even in the 70s this was pretty slow, but I think for mid 1960s, I don't think that was actually all that bad, to be honest. And it goes on to say you got in two versions, Viva 90 Deluxe, Viva 90 SL, so you didn't necessarily have to have that top of the range super luxury version to get the Viva 90. So powered by a bright red 60 bhp engine. Its many new features include a new free flow exhaust with twin branch manifold, constant depression, variable choke, side draft carburetor, large valve heads and throats. Tells you about the compression ratio, heavy duty aluminium tin or copper lead bearings, and improved crankcase ventilation. Viva 90 models have a special modified exhaust system with built-in resonators, 2.5 inch diameter prop shaft, and vacuum servo assisted brakes with discs on the front wheels. And then if we move to one side, this is what it refers to as the bright red engine, although it looks like a bit more like a poo brown to me. But anyway, there it is, the engine in all its wonderful glory. Anyway, let's just move back to some more of the images, because it then starts showing images of the SL. Then get another image or another picture of the SL, this time in a sort of a light blue colour. Maybe we should zoom in on that front end a bit. We can see at the front of the SL version and even a number plate. Ooh, maybe we should zoom in a little bit more. Looks like FXE875C. I'm sure this is no longer around, but I can't help but have a look. So this one, you can see it's got these extra lights on, and I think there are a slightly different grille as well on the SL version. Now, I'm presuming that was standard. It looked like some kind of spotlight, I'm presuming they were standard on the SL, although it's difficult to really say. It's not like later brochures where it lists. Well, it doesn't seem to be on this brochure, unless we see it later on, of course. But yeah, certainly an interesting front end and an interesting model is the SL. We get this image as well of the interior of the SL version. Moving on. This apparently is back to looking under the bonnet of the Deluxe. And then lower down still, we get another image. It looks like the same car, FXE875C, going through a little bit of a Ford. Anyway, let's continue reading. The main caption here is born and bred for success. It's the 1 litre car that's got everything. Tells us we can't stop people polishing their Vivas, but it's unnecessary all the same. Brilliant acrylic lacquer and polished aluminium need only a wash and a rinse and they're dazzling bright again. The same goes for the steel bumpers and hub covers. Try nickel chromium plated. Why do the work when we've done it already? No mention of it rusted and falling apart, but never mind. Simple servicing, painstaking protection at regular intervals, about every 15 months, which is an unusual one. The Viva's chassis lubrication becomes due. Fresh engine oil and a routine check every 6,000 miles keep the Viva content in the meantime. Bad weather means nothing to this 1 litre Vauxhall, and in the 110-inch of thick underbody seal, it's distinctively reassuring. So selling, you don't even have to worry about it. It's not going to rust, or at least it's going to last a long time, which, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but I always assumed that these were a little bit of a rust-prone vehicle. Oh, I just noticed then it's actually 1/16th of an inch, not 1/10th of an inch. Anyway, let's move back on. Designed with the driver in mind, the SL fascia shown here is representative of the functional instrument panel of the complete Viva range. All the instruments are easy to read and directly in front of the driver. Rocker type switches operate the lights, and the big powerful wipers, horn, direction indicators, headlamp flashers and dip switch are all under the control of a neat handy lever on the steering column. The wheel is deep dished, and the stubby gear lever and sturdy handbrake are ideally placed. And as much more modern vehicles, you can get dealer accessories developed by Vauxhall engineers and available from Vauxhall dealers: heater, fog lamps, radio, wing mirrors, seat covers, seat belts, towing attachments, wheel embellishers, reversing lamps, etc. But it doesn't really tell us if any of these models have any of those accessories or they were standard fit. So then if we flipped this brochure the opposite way that it was, there is some more nice images and interesting information, so we'll continue with this lovely white example. It tells us Viva Deluxe has a heater, screen washer, additional sound insulation, padded dash, edge carpeting, special seating, 2-colour door trim, door pull armrests, rear seat armrests with ashtrays, twin sun visors, door operated interior light, hinged rear quarter lights, bright interior fittings, frames to no draft ventilators, bright drip channels and windscreen and rear window surrounds, bright side mouldings, mats on boot floor. Goes on to tell us the Viva 90 Deluxe is finished to the same specifications as the Viva Deluxe and is distinguished by a special badge at the rear. The Viva Standard Saloon, not illustrated in this leaflet, so there is also a basic one, not a deluxe, but it's telling us we're not going to show you a picture of that because we want you to spend a bit more money, I guess. Shares the same outstanding basic specification with other models in the range and has simpler interior and exterior trim. So doesn't tell you what that doesn't have other than it's simpler both on the inside and the out. And then there is that rather nice example of this deluxe Viva. Goes on to tell us even better for 66, the Viva SL has all the luxury and equipment of the deluxe saloons, plus a new polished aluminium grille, side flash in contrast colour, polished aluminium wheel embellishers, overriders front and rear, new rear lamp arrangement with separate bezels, new badges front and rear. It's just a shame it doesn't show us a rear image, but there we go. Continuing on, and on fascia, body contoured front and rear seats in ambler, special door trim with big matte pockets, matte silver fascia and instrument dials, lavish padding all round of fascia, and on the parcel shelf, superior quality semi-luster cut pile carpets, lockable glove box under fascia and matched two-tone horns. Viva 90 SL is finished into the same specifications to the Viva SL and is distinguished by a special badge at the rear. So no mention of those front driving or spotlights or fog lights or whatever they are, so maybe that was an option from that accessory list. And then we get this nice little peek inside that lovely SL version. That would have been the one to have, wouldn't it, the SL? I wonder if any of them survived. I think though one of my favourite things about this brochure is it's even got the prices, which is a nice look. Not often they have the prices in these older brochures, to be honest with you. So it says recommended prices X works including purchase tax. So your standard Viva was £528 and change. Your Viva Deluxe £579 and change, and then your Viva SL £620, and it goes on. Your more powerful versions, the Viva 90 Deluxe £606, and the most spendy of them all, the Viva 90 SL at £648. It's just nice to see those prices and what you used to have to pay for a car. Anyway, it goes on to tell some colours. Unfortunately there's no chart, but it's still quite nice. It kind of lists the colours and you use your imagination. So the colours for the Viva Deluxe 90 Deluxe. So we got Grecian white, black, storm grey, meteor blue, Pacific blue, jade green, cavalry fawn, calypso red, and cypress green. And then depending on what your exterior colour, that was whatever your interior colour. So you could have a red, a blue, or a beige vineyard interior. And then you move down to the Viva SL and 90 SL, telling us the colours are slightly different. So, and of course you get that flash with the SL, don't you? So you have Grecian white with a calypso red flash. That would have been quite something. Grecian white with a black flash, storm grey with a black flash, meteor blue with a Pacific blue flash, Pacific blue with a meteor blue flash, and jade green with a cypress green flash. That would be quite nice. Calypso red with a black flash, and cypress green with a jade green flash. So interesting colour choices there. Again, exterior colour denotes what you get for your interior colour. You can have a red, a black, or a blue interior, dependent on colour's choice. Now if we move down, we do get this quite nice Rays Motors Wrexham Limited, your Vauxhall and Bedford dealer. Interesting, printed in England. Oh, another nice little touch. This is your code here, and that 1065 is where it tells you that's October 65. And then we get a nice little, what we think is another final little image showing the SL. I presume it's the SL because of the lights on the front, although you can see it's got a different number plate, so presumably Well, I can say an older example, but if it's an SL, it can't be older than 65, so that is a little bit unusual. I'm going to say maybe that's not an SL and it's an older model. That grille is different, isn't it? So it's not going to be an SL, so it's just a random older model year of Viva, I think. Different grille than the SL, isn't it? And you can see there's no, you can kind of like work out that there's no flash down the side. There's just that higher line. A little bit unusual that they threw that on the end. We think we're finished, but actually no. There's this top section which has ended up being upside down, so I'll flip that around and see what this is talking about. It just says Viva 66. 5 cars make up the impressive range for 66. 5 lively Vauxhalls sharing the remarkable qualities which have placed the Viva swiftly and firmly in the forefront of its class. The supremely successful Viva Standard and Deluxe are joined by the super luxury Viva SL to provide a free-fold solution for the man who wants wholehearted performance, plenty of room and unwavering reliability in a 1 litre saloon. So, these brochures. Women don't really exist in the world of cars, of course, so it's obviously just going to be the man. Similar time, they were saying, give your wife a vacuum cleaner for Christmas. But, we've moved on from that, so I hope that doesn't upset anyone, maybe one lady that's watching. But certainly it is unusual that when you think about it in today's mindset that, only a man is ever mentioned in these, which, happy times have changed, I'd say. Anyway, and now for the driver who wants something extra performance, for the man who drives hard and fast, 2 new Vivas come take their place in the Vauxhall stable. Powered by a lusty new 60 bhp engine, the new Viva 90 Deluxe and the new Viva 90 SL make their debut for 66 to make the latest quintet of Vivas unchallengeable leader in the 1 litre field. One brilliant design. Every Viva is built around a basic concept which combines liveliness with economy, comfort with practicality, roominess with compactness and elegance with tough self-assurance. Random words. I just throw random words in it. In no way is the Viva a compromise. For honest to goodness value, the Viva is unbeatable. And then the final image is this lovely blue example, this Viva SL at speed. And doesn't it look really wonderful? Quarter lights open, we have to point out the quarter light, of course. All that chrome. I think it looks a great looking car, and I particularly like it in SL guys with this sort of flash going down the side. It looks something quite special. Quite sad that these aren't really collectible when you think about later models like the Escort and how crazy people went for the Escort. I think mainly because it was a Ford and it was, you think about rally heritage, and then everyone wants an Escort even if it's a super slow basic example. But cars like these, a little bit forgotten, and I'm sure not as many survivors, unfortunately. But if I saw one of them on the road, I would certainly turn my head. It looks absolutely wonderful. But at the end here, we'll say I hope you have enjoyed today's episode of Course Lights and the Vauxhall Vivas for model year 66. I like this brochure. It's got prices in, it talks about colours, got lovely images, colour images again, which is quite unusual actually to get actual pictures in a 66 brochure. They're nearly always drawn, and I always appreciate the drawings of very talented people, but it's so much nice to see an actual photograph of the cars themselves, because the artists themselves, when they did the drawings in the 60s and earlier, of course, they used to use a little bit of artistic license and make them longer and sleeker and lower roof lines just to make you think it was more special than it actually was. You can't beat an actual photograph. Yes, the brochure opens the same as most 60s brochures in this sort of fold out design, but I do like it. And it's always nice to see prices and to take you back to that era. Let me know in the comments if you've got any memories of these Vivas, either in this form or even the later HA Bedford vans. Always interesting to, hear what people have got to say, and there's lots of very knowledgeable people who are our subscribers on the channel. It's even interesting for viewers to just take a time and look at the comments. There's some great comments and lots of useful information in that comment section. Again, thank you so much for watching, and if you've not done it already, please do consider liking and subscribing. It is all completely free, and like I say, once you've subscribed, it'll tell you when there's a new video that comes out, and easy to find the channels, the episodes I should say, coming up to 500, not far off 500 videos, so I'm sure there's something for everyone. Mainly the 60s, 70s, 80s and 90s, although we've occasionally done 50s brochures in there as well. We've occasionally done 2000s brochures as well, so there is a wide choice of cars, and I try to be impartial for these videos because there's somebody who loves every single car that I do, and there's also people that would hate the cars that I do. So the person who loves the car, the next person along will hate it, but that's what I think is fascinating. Anyway, I've added a couple of boxes there for other videos you can watch if you've got time, and we'll end by saying thank you so much for watching. Please do take care. We'll see you very soon, and goodbye.